Welcome to the Foxhole. I'm Nondor Fox Schaefer, and I want to take you back to February 2018. The scene, Planet Comicon in Kansas City, Missouri. This was the weekend I personally met Tom King. If that name doesn't ring a bell, you're probably not a comic book fan. My first graphic novel, Seasons Volume 1 Spring, had just released, and this was going to be my second big convention that I was going to be having a booth at. This was going to be a place where I was going to sell hundreds and hundreds of copies of my book, right? That's not at all what happened. In fact, it was one of the most depressing weekends, I think, of my life because I was barely selling any. Now, I was having a really hard time because everyone was passing by my table, and I just felt like a wreck. I was like, why should I be here? Like, I'm wasting my time. I'm not selling anything. This is really depressing. Actually, a friend of mine who was attending the con came up to my table and was like, what's the matter? Or like, how's it going? And I was like, not very good. And he says to me, you got to get up in front of people and show them your book. You can't wait for people to come to you. You got to get up and talk to people. Go to those writers. Go to those creators. And it was such great advice. It was daunting, but it was really good advice. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so from then on, I was going to, for the rest of the weekend, I thought, if I could just get this book into the hands of these writers, if I could just give them the book, not even ask them to pay for it, just give them the book and be like, please check this out. This is my first book, my first graphic novel. I'm trying to be a professional comic book writer. I'd love for you to check this out. Just please take it. No one's taking my book. Please take my book. I'm going to give this to you. I don't want any money. And that's really important to the story. So I was doing that. I was going to different writers, and I was talking about Seasons, and I was talking about my plans for it, the story, what I wanted to do with the series, all that kind of stuff. And so I go up to Tom King. Now, Tom King wasn't necessarily a household name like he is now. He was writing Batman, and he was writing Batman from the start of the DC Rebirth line that they were coming out with. So he was writing Batman at the time, and Mr. Miracle, which I think really put him on the map and got him the Eisner-award. Really good book if you haven't read Mr. Miracle. What are you doing? Stop watching this and go read Mr. Miracle. So the first issue of that, or the first couple issues, I think, of Mr. Miracle had come out, and I hadn't really read any of his stuff. I was still getting to know him and know his work, and I think I might have read some of Sheriff of Babylon or one of those other books that he had done. So I go up to Tom King with Seasons Volume 1 in my hands, and I start to talk to him and give him the spiel. This is what I made. This is, what I'm thinking about doing. Do you have any advice? Any of that stuff. And I give him the book, and I'll never forget this. He looks at it and he goes, like, you made this? And he's like, how old are you? Because at the time in 2018, I'm 24 now. I was, 20. You're 20 years old. You made this? He's like, what? And in that depressing weekend, it was the highlight of the weekend, and it's something that I'll never forget. And the story just gets better. So I give him the book, and I'm like, I just want to give this to you. Hope you like it. Hope you check it out. If there's any advice you can give. And he did give me some really good advice. And one of the best things he said to me was, you got to get all the bad writing out before you start to get good. Because he looked at my book and he's like, this is over 100 pages. This is your first graphic novel, the first thing that you've made. In his mind, he's probably thinking, this probably isn't that good, and he'll just, hopefully he'll get better or something like that. And I didn't care. I was just really cool to talk to him. And I'm proud of that book and what we're doing, and it makes total sense. The more you do something, the better you'll get. You just got to stick with it. And that's what he was telling me. So I give him the book. He takes it. He's like, you're just going to give this to me? He gets out his wallet from, his back pocket. He takes a 20 out and he hands it to me. He's like, I want to pay for this. And also, I'll visit you. I'll visit your booth. Unfortunately, that never happened, and I don't blame him because he was meeting a lot of people and, why would he remember me? But I remember this. And I remember this because it's one of the best things to ever happen to me as a struggling creator, as someone who was just starting out. He wasn't going to take my book. No one else did this, mind you. It was just like, wow, really? And it's like, he could think the book is trash. I don't know. But he didn't have to do that, and he did. I wanted to share that with you guys because that's just one of the best memories I've had as being a creator. And now he's like blown up. He's like, one of the top writers. I went to the comic book store like the other day, and all my books, I looked at them and I was like, oh, Tom King's writing all of these. So Tom King, I don't know if you ever watched this. I don't know if you remember me at all, but I just wanted to share this. And if you are watching this, Tom, thank you so much for that. I love basically everything you've done so far. And I'm not trying to fanboy out here, but also I bought this there at the convention. This is the first volume of his Batman run. It collects the first 6 issues, and he signed it right there. And it says For Nondor. And it was just one of the best experiences I've had. And honestly, it made me a longtime fan because he didn't have to do that at all, but he did. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed that story. Please read a Tom King book.